Hope the presentation is visible, right? So I'll continue. If it is not visible, kindly let me know. So this is an entire thing of like, what are the skills we require to scale up to doing this HR analytics? The very basic skills required. Since we are running out of time and I have just 25 minutes to close, I'll be just moving to the core content of this presentation, leaving out all the basics and other things. And I'll share you this full presentations later. So these are the traditional HR functions we have been doing. Okay. But to contribute at the strategic level, these are the various contemporary measures we will have to go for. For that, Google has suggested one model. This is by Google's People Analytics Group. Okay, you should start with this counting. Counting is like, you are coming out with some descriptives about the data. And clever counting is like, you need to know what kind of data you need to take for counting. That is clever counting. Then drilling down the data will give you some insights. With that insights, you will have to make an influence on the decisions of your organization and contribute for the growth of your organization. So this is the model given by Google's People Analytics Group. But to do this, you need certain skills. So you need certain of the aspects to be known in statistics, some knowledge. We need not be a statistician. I'm not a statistician. So we need some basic.
Can someone please be on mute?
Sir, continue.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we need certain knowledge in statistics because we will have to establish relationship between the various metrics. So we will have to know which should be the basic statistics thing is like we have dependent variables which depend on certain aspects, and we have independent variables which influence this dependent variable. So we need to take, when we go for analytics, we need to decide on which should be the dependent variable, which is dependent on what, and which should be the independent variable. So a certain level of statistics thing we have to know. And basics of research. What are the types of research? What is the causal design? And how to design a research for HR. That thing we will have to know. Then we need to have certain basic insights in economics, because here most of the metrics we use will be related to cost, keeping cost effectiveness as the main purpose. So you will have to know the behavior of cost, how to reduce the cost, how to keep the cost as minimal. Okay. Then we will also need to have certain knowledge in finance, because we will be calculating ROI, return on investment, which is a financial term. And like the training which you give today, you will not reap immediate results. You will get that reflected in over a period of time, in a time frame of 1 year, or some of the training which you have conducted today will take a longer period of time for the transfer of training to happen in the real workplace behavior of the employees. So the amount which you have spent today will be likely to reap results only after a particular period of time. So in that case, you will have to know how to discount the value of amount. You all know there is something called net present value. What is the present value today? But if I have to receive some amount in future, benefits in future, it cannot be the same value. It has to be either discounted or it has to be either compounded. So these are the certain basics you will have to know if you want to be a good HR analyst. I'm not asking you to be a professional in all those things. It is practically impossible with our specialized knowledge and other things. But we need to know just what is what. So I'll just browse through the various things you will have to know in each of these things. In statistics and research design, at least you should know how to select the sample, the basics of selecting samples, and conclusions about correlation, how to establish relationship between two variables, and how to design experiments. Okay, so how to divide a group into control group and experimental group. So experimental group is on which you will test your new ideas, new thoughts, and other things, and you later compare after the interventions if there is any change between the group which has been given inputs and which has not been given input. So those basics you will have to know. And the areas in economics and finance you will have to know is this, okay? How to go for what is fixed cost, variable cost, starting from that. You should know at least break-even analysis. So all those things, okay? So with this, I will close this particular presentation and we can move ahead, okay? Right. So all this definitions about the various things are given, and this is the summary of what we have discussed so far, right from the beginning of the session. So we have discussed about HR analytics basics, the changing role of HR, where you are held accountable and responsible for the decisions you take. Then what is the wall? What is stopping us from contributing at the strategic level? So to break the wall, light the lamp, so which is the lamp framework we have discussed, and how HR effectiveness is gauged. The effectiveness of HR department is gauged. Traditional measures, contemporary measures, and what are the contemporary measures we will have to work on. And to have this adequate work experience with this contemporary measures and to work towards it, we need to have an interdisciplinary approach where we will have to have certain knowledge in statistics, research, economics, and finance. So this is where we were. Now we will get into real-time HR metrics actually. So we will start with the most popular concept, which is absenteeism. Okay. So we will start with absenteeism and separation. So I'm not going to give you the each and every metric of related to absenteeism and separation, because it will be just only formulas. Okay, I have a separate reading material for it, a downloaded reading material, which have all the metrics related to absenteeism, various other aspects of HR like selection, recruitment, training, performance appraisals, and it also gives you the formula for estimation and calculation. But the whole idea here, what I will be doing is like, I'll be providing a broader idea of how to estimate and what aspects to be taken care when you come to arrive at certain informed analytics with regard to absenteeism and each of the topics we are going to discuss. So in this presentation, we will be discussing about what aspects to take into consideration and how to estimate the overall cost of absenteeism. We are not going to arrive at simple factors like absenteeism rate, how many people are absent. These are all simple descriptors. You can do it with the formula. Okay. We are going to have a broader picture of what to include and what are all the factors we are missing and what are the challenges in estimating those figures. So that we will be discussing here. Okay. Anyone out there, what is actually cost of absenteeism? Any idea? So that is what we are going to discuss straight away with. What is cost of absenteeism?
So maybe satisfaction.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am. Hello. There are a lot of questions, so you can put in your own ideas of what is.
Sir, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe because
Yes.
the employees were not present, for example, training,
Hmm.
the employees may not be present in the particular training activity,
Okay.
and that may result in a lot of cost. That is the
Fine,
one
sir.
example. This
Okay.
we can give many examples like that.
Yes, sir. So your belief is exactly right, and what you believe is exactly right. So cost of absenteeism is not only with regard to training. When employees are not present for their
Yes,
scheduled
yes,
work.
I just give you an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
It may be performance, it may be anything.
Correct.
Just an indication of it.
Okay, fine, sir. Exactly right. So when they are supposed to be present for a particular work or training or something else, if they are absent, then their absence tends to result in certain cost to be beared by the organization. So that is cost of absenteeism. Okay. So now let us go through what are all the factors we will have to take into consideration when estimating the real cost of absenteeism. Okay. My next question to you all is, I think there is some noise feedback. Okay. I'm still getting that noise feedback from some of you. If you are trying to answer, kindly open up and answer, or you have accidentally unmuted, kindly check to your mic settings and please mute it. Fine. So now let me put you through the next question. What are all the various cost elements associated with absenteeism? Or I will put it in a different way. So whichever thing is understandable by you, you can just respond. When you try to estimate the cost of absenteeism, the loss incurred by the organization because some employees are absent, what are all the various cost elements we will have to take into account?
Delays in project completion,
Yeah.
Yes,
Loss in the
exactly.
productivity, entire day productivity by that particular employee.
Fine. Anything else? You have given me the advanced elements to be included. What is the first and the very basic element to be included?
Even quality of the product or service also cannot
Exactly.
be up to the mark.
Yes, exactly. Then,
first thing is like work remains pending.
yes, that is what they have told already. Like I think you have told, because I am not able to see the persons. Delays in project. Okay. The basic element which is to be included, these are very advanced levels and all this thing, which immediately will not crop up to any common layman. Whenever there is absenteeism, there is one element which will cause immediate loss to the organization. What is that actually? In what forms you invest on your people? What are the various costs you spend on your people?
Cost of recruitment,
Cost of recruitment.
the
After
salary being
recruitment,
paid.
we are we are talking about employees of your organization. So for your employees, what are all the various costs you are spending on?
Remuneration,
Salary, insurance, health insurance,
Salary,
life insurance.
insurance. Okay. So direct compensation benefits and some of the indirect compensation benefits you are spending. If an employee is entitled to take leave, normally how many days it is permitted? In our case, it is 12 days in a year. How many days you are permitting?
So there is a separate leave policy, sir, in the organization.
Separate leave policy. I'm asking
Correct.
about a typical leave policy, like how many days will be granted as casual leave?
Maybe 1 day, and for medical leave, if it is for more than 2 days, then they'll have to provide the medical certificate.
Medical certificates. Are you providing something called paid leave? What is that paid leave?
Compensatory or?
Yeah. not compensatory off. There is something called paid.
On duty leave.
That doesn't have to affect their, what is it called? Their monthly salary or the wage, whatever is you are paying. Whether they are present or absent, you will be paying that thing. Say this monthly salary, I'm entitled to take 12 days leave, let us assume. It doesn't mean that I will have to take 12 days leave. Okay. And I have not informed and I'm taking a leave and I later inform it is a casual leave. Okay. You are not going to curtail any of my salary component. The monthly salary I'll be receiving, but the day loss cost because of my absenteeism, whatever you have told, project delays and decreased productivity and all those things are bound to happen. Okay, so let us go for the details of the various cost components we will have to take into consideration in estimating the cost of absenteeism. Fine. So here I will not talk to you about what is absenteeism and all those things, which you all know. A particular worker is to be scheduled work. There is something called scheduled work. And if it is an informed leave, that cannot be considered as absenteeism according to the books. Because, I have told you priorly, I will not be present for that work, so that I have given you a chance for making alternate arrangements. So by book, it cannot be, but in practical, it can be considered as absenteeism because in 1 day's prior notice, I'll
Sir,
not
it
be
is not
able
audible.
to make alternate arrangements.
Sir, it is
Fine?
not audible.
Sir, I'm not audible.
No, we can
You
hear.
are,
You
you
are
are audible.
audible, sir.
You are.
Okay, fine. So that can be by books, it cannot be taken as absenteeism, but practically it is also absenteeism. Fine.
Sir, it is not
So,
audible, sir.
Sir, I think for others it is audible.
Yes, sir.
You join again. You rejoin.
Yes, sir, it is audible.
So we will go to that. And I want to have a feedback from the people actually. I have a problem with which we can take up certain figures and solve. Or you want to just outline the factors to be taken for consideration of estimating the cost of absenteeism. Which one shall we go on?
So go with the numbers, sir. That will be more.
Go with the numbers, okay. But the
Excuse
numbers
me, sir,
I
it
have
is not
adapted
audible.
from
I
the
don't know whether
book.
it is for me or all people.
I have adapted this problem with numbers from the book, which I have told you, which I will be sharing you also. So the terms, financial terms will be in dollars, okay? That is not an issue. We can replace it by rupee and we can calculate the rupee value of it, okay? So I will straight away take you to that, skipping all those definitions and some of the statistics related to absenteeism, how much it is costing the organizations, and for what reasons normally people quote and take leave and all those things. There are some statistics. We will skip and we will straight away go to the components in estimating absenteeism. Okay? So analytics and measures for employee absenteeism. Fine. So these are the simple metrics. This is what I will be giving you in the reading material. So don't worry about it. These are very simple metrics which we can easily estimate. As a strategist and as a HR analyst, we need to understand what should actually go into the element when I'm calculating cost of absenteeism. Okay. These are very simple metrics. Okay. So we are skipping this and we are going to this. Okay. So overall, these are all the various cost elements we are going to take into consideration when we are calculating the cost of absenteeism. And most of the aspects you have told already, that is also listed. I'll go one by one. These are the steps which we are going to take up an hypothetical situational problem and we are going to solve. So the first step is we will have to calculate the hours lost for the absenteeism period. Period here is during which period, starting from which period and starting to which period you want to calculate. As I told you earlier, some organizations may be going for monthly or some organizations may be going for calculation it quarterly, half yearly or annually. So any period you can take. Then we will have to compute the weighted average salary. I'll give you the example. You will understand very clearly. It is very simple. Then we need to also take into consideration the benefits we are giving. Okay, because that is also the part of the salary. And you will have to finally estimate the total compensation lost because of the absent employees. Then you told, like somebody told, productivity. Somebody told there is project delays, that is delay. Somebody told productivity. Because somebody is absent, if in a particular project where you are working, there are supposed to be 10 people. If 2 people are absent, this 8 people need to do the work of the 10 people. So in that case, if there is a supervisor, foregoing his supervisory work, he will also need to sometimes step in and do. So what is the supervisory work lost because of the team members are absent? Okay, so that is a thing we are going to take. Then the amount we are going to pay for those supervisors for the additional work they have taken care or their productivity loss, that we are going to also take care. And like the supervisory salaries lost because of absenteeism, because instead of playing a role of a project lead or a supervisor, he is playing the role of an employee or the subordinate worker. I am supposed to play a different big role. Because somebody is absent to counterpart their thing, I am doing a smaller role for which I am being paid on a different scale of salary. So that we have to take into consideration. So overall, we will compute the cost, and then you said quality defects will happen. So that cost we are going to take care, and we are going to take care of the final estimation. So these are the numbers for you. Okay. So look at this side. Shall I use a highlighter with your permission so that I can mark the various thing where you need to note down? Okay, there are 3,000 employees in a particular absenteeism, particular organization, and the absenteeism rate is 1.5%. Okay. Right? So 3,000 employees, and they account for 1.5 rate of absenteeism. First, we are going to estimate the hours of hours and particular employees supposed to work actually. Fine. So there are 2080 hours. Can anybody give me a guess how this 2080 is arrived at? 2080 hours per year per employee. How it is arrived at? How many working days per week?
6, sir.
6 normally. Corporates, it is also 6 or 5?
5 something.
5. So we have taken 5. And how many weeks in a year?
52.
52. Okay. How many hours we are supposed to work every day?
8 hours.
8 hours.
So 8 into 5 into 52. So 40 hours per week into 52 weeks. So that will give us the 2080 hours. Fine. Okay. From that, we are deducing certain thing and arriving at a figure called scheduled work time. So what is scheduled work time? Scheduled work time is the employee is supposed to be present there to report for the work. So from this 2080, I am deducting 180 and 40. Somebody tell me why I am deducting this 80 and 40. What is this 80 and what is this 40?
Is it an account of leave, sir?
Yes, exactly, sir. So, like we are giving paid vacations, right? So let us assume in a year, they are given this 2 weeks. So we are just deducting that. So we are arriving at a final figure, which is 1,960. So 1,960 hours, they are supposed to be present. So if they are absent for any hours from this 1,960, we are considering that as an absenteeism. Okay. In step 2, I told you we will have to calculate the weighted average thing. Okay, because each and every employee is paid differently with a different pay package, and we will have to estimate where the absenteeism rate is high and where the absenteeism rate is low. See, overall it is 1.5% for the all the 3,000 employees, which is the entire workforce. But there will be levels of employees, right? Each level will be paid at a different pay band. Now, in this case, we are assuming blue collar employees, you will all be knowing, who are shop floor employees. Then the mid-level employees, clerical, then management, top level and professional. Normally, this will be the pattern observed. There will be more absenteeism at the bottom floor, at the shop floor only. So, out of the 100%, this blue collar account for 60% of absenteeism. If 100 employees are absent, then 60% of them are blue collar employees, 30% are clerical, and 10% of them are management and professional thing. Okay. Now I will have to calculate the hourly salary wage, average hourly wage. So how do I calculate? How do I calculate the hourly wage? From my monthly salary, I can easily calculate the hourly wage. Okay, fine. So the hourly wage is like 26.20, 18.90, and 42.30. Ultimately, you know, the shop floor workers are paid little bit higher. Clerical jobs are not paid that heavily, and top management are paid heavily. So just I am taking 60% of this 26 thing, because 60% of people who are drawing this salary and this wage are absenting themselves. So, and I am taking 30% of this, and I am taking 10% of this salary. Okay. So I am adding it so that I can arrive at an average salary across my organization, which is 25.63. Fine, sir. Clear? Okay. We'll move to the third step. Okay. We will also be providing them some additional benefits. So in case of providing them some with additional benefits, how much is lost? See, for example, the salary per employee is 25.63. Average salary we have taken, and they are paid for 2080 hours because leaves and vacations are included, and we don't deduct salary for that. So 2080 hours we are taking. So totally it is 53,310. We are paying them for a year. Okay. So we are arriving at, like we are taking, for example, 39% of their salary, 39% of their yearly salary. This from the 39% of this 53,310 is given as additional compensation and benefits. Benefits in the form of insurance, benefits in the form of claims, benefits in the form of paid vacations and all those things. Okay. So from that, we are calculating the average cost benefits per employee per year. Okay. Which is this. Okay. Which is this. So average annual salary, 39% of 53,310 is 2791. Okay. From this thing, I am arriving at the weekly benefits. So I just divided by 52 because we are taking 52 weeks a year. So that will be this. From that thing, I am going to take it as hours worked per week. And we all know hours worked per week is, 40. Okay. So we are rounding off. This 399 can be taken as 400 divided by 40 is 10. So we have arrived at these figures. We have included the salary component plus the additional benefit they are receiving. Now we are moving to total compensation for the absent employees' time. Okay. So we are adding this weighted average salary. Okay. And this, per week, how much you have calculated, this thing is the additional benefit. Already we have calculated the weighted average salary, so which is 25.63. So to this 25.63, we are adding this compensation which is paid, okay, additional compensation, additional benefits, which is 10. So it will become 35.63. As per the records of the organization, the total absenteeism hours is 88,200, which is given here. Okay. So how much is lost, total hours of lost absence? So I'm just multiplying the total hours absent across the organization, which is 88,200, into the average salary plus the benefits we are paying to those lost hours, which accounts to, look at it, it is 3 lakh, it is 31,42,566 So you can estimate it in Indian rupees, so how much it will be. Okay. So this is the total compensation cost we are spending. Fine. Now we will look at the supervisory time, adding because of somebody is absent, how we are adding the supervisory hours. See, for a week, they are spending 3.4 hours on managing absences. Okay. So for a day, how much they will be spending? That is what I have taken here, 6.8 hours. Nothing I'm doing. For a week, they are spending 3.4 hours on managing absences of their employees who are working under them. So I'm just dividing it by 5 days. So I am taking it as 0.68. Not all supervisors will be spending time on managing absenteeism. Only certain particular supervisors will be spending time. Let us assume in my organization, there are 100 of such supervisors who are spending. Okay. And they are, the number of working days of the period, including all shifts and weekend, is 245 in a year. So for a year, 16,660 supervisory hours are lost because of managing absenteeism. Okay. Now, totally supervisory hours are lost this much. Now I will have to calculate the benefits paid to the supervisors, so that I can arrive at how much of compensation is lost for the supervisors because of managing absenteeism. Let us assume their salary is this much, okay? And the compensation, other benefits percentage, we know it is 39%. So 39% of their hourly salary will be 12.4. So for a week, they will be getting 4.19. So this is the supervisor's average salary. Fine. So now we will have to estimate the time spent on managing absenteeism by the supervisors. So just I am multiplying the hours spent by supervisors in a year for managing absenteeism into the compensation I am paying for the supervisors. So that will give me this amount. Okay. So now I have to calculate it. Now I have to calculate the cost of substitute employees. Some employees you can replace with certain contract workers or something. So as per the books of this company, this is a hypothetical example, they are spending 3,85,000 a year for the cost of paying substitute employees and contractual employees to replace the absence of regular employees and full-time employees. Okay, so that cost I have taken. Okay, and you have rightly told there is something like if the new workers are working, experienced workers are absent, there will be quality drops, machine breakdowns, because the new employees without training, they will not be able to work with the machines and all those things. And normally a survey data indicates if you pay one time salary to an employee, if you want to recruit a new employee, you will have to pay 1.25 times, because it also involves the recruitment cost. Okay. So because of the defects, I am incurring a loss of 40,000 per year. But this is difficult to estimate because it is an indirect cost. You will have to keep a track of it, how many employees are employed in the place of absent full-time employees. So you will have to estimate. So we are taking a hypothetical figure. So now you will have to, we are arriving at a chart. So totally how many hours are absent in a year? 88,200. And we have estimated the average salary across the various levels of people absenting themselves is 25.63. Okay. And additional benefits, 39% on those things on their salary is 10. Okay. So we have arrived at the salary plus additional packages spent on them. So which is 35.63. So if you arrive at this compensation, number of total compensation lost because of absent employees, we are just multiplying 88,200 into 35.63, which will give you this number. Okay. Then we are estimating the supervisory hours lost in managing absenteeism. We have calculated. Then we have calculated the salary package plus additional compensation benefits we spend on the supervisors. That is this much. So supervisory salaries lost is this much. So cost of substitute employees is this much. Cost of quality defects and quantity of work defect is this much. So we are totally estimating the cost of absenteeism. We are adding item number 5. We are adding item number 8, supervisory hours. We are adding item number 10, and we are adding item number 10, 9 and 10. Okay. So loss cost because of absent employees, loss cost because of managing supervisors managing and offsetting the losses of this absent employees, then cost spent on substitute employees, and cost because of organization incurred because of lost productivity. Okay, so the total estimation of absenteeism is this much. Okay, and we all know there are 3,000 employees who are absent. So just divide this by 3,000. So per employee per year for absenteeism, the company is spending this much. So this is the cost of absenteeism for this company. Fine. Any clarifications, sir?
No, sir.
Fine. So I have 3 minutes more. I'll just tell you certain insights about how to estimate the cost of separations. And then we will wind up. Rest of the metrics and hands-on software tools, we will take it up tomorrow. Okay. Just 3 minutes. Kindly bear. Okay. So here we will, look at the various cost element which will go into the turnover. So what is turnover or separation? Employee leaving the organization. Okay, external movements, they are permanently leaving the organization. Your internal movements you will not consider as a turnovers. What is internal movement? Somebody is promoted to a different position. So somebody is transferred from one department to other department. That is not considered as turnover. If he is leaving your organization, then that is turnover. Okay. And this you will have to know. Asan, can somebody give an example? Voluntary, involuntary turnovers. What is voluntary and involuntary turnover?
Voluntary is by resignation.
Okay.
Involuntary is more like a termination.
Yes,
suspension.
exactly, sir. So voluntary, by their own will and wish they leave. Okay. Involuntary is you take some disciplinary action, or sometimes you may go for a layoff, or sometimes we have seen right in the job redesign, there are some tasks which may be obsolete and you don't need workers to work on it anymore. Okay. So that is involuntary. You send them off. Can anyone also tell what is functional and dysfunctional? Functional, dysfunctional?
Contributing and non-contributing?
Yes, actually. See, that is one way of looking at it. Whether the leaving employee is a contributing employee or a non-contributing employee, there is also one more perspective to look on. See, when an employee leaves and that position is vacant and it has to be filled up, normally you take up a new employee, right? You bring in new employee. Because the new employee has come, if he is performing better than the earlier employee who has left, is it a functional replacement or a dysfunctional replacement?
It is functional.
Functional. Okay. Because the new recruit whom you have bought in is performing better than the earlier person who has left. But in case the reverse happens, the new recruit is not performing up to the level of the person who has left, then it is dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional.
Okay. Okay. So in each of this term, the estimation of cost will be different. So in voluntary, when they are resigning, what are the typical benefits you will provide them to go ahead with? What are all the various costs involved in voluntary exits actually?
Provident fund,
Provident fund, yes.
gratuity,
Gratuity,
Paid leaves encashment.
yes. So whatever benefits he is entitled to, you will be giving. So those are all the costs. But when you calculate involuntary, let us take for example, if it is layoffs, what will you do? You will have to pay them a compensatory pay, asking them to leave. Correct, sir? And if it is an VRS, voluntary retirement scheme, then also you will have to pay some benefits to them, asking them to leave because because they are not leaving on any grounds. They don't have any black marks also. It is because you restructuring, you are asking him to go. In case if it is dismissals, will you have to bear all the cost in the case of like a VRS or layoffs or this voluntary thing?
Much lesser.
Much lesser. Okay, so that is what you will have to take into consideration while estimating the cost. Okay, now I will show you the various costs we will have to take into consideration. Okay, number one, you will have to know the various cost elements which will come when it is a voluntary turnover or it is an involuntary turnover. And in involuntary turnover, whether it is for some causes, your restructuring or organizational design, or whether it is dismissals or layoff, you will have to have a clear clarity and distinction between these. Then replacement cost. What is replacement cost?
recruiting somebody else in his place.
What are the cost elements which will go into this replacement cost?
சொல்லமா இல்ல ஆயிக்குது எண்டாவது போகுது.
Yeah, it will end sooner. Just tell me what are the costs which will go into this replacement cost? Recruitment cost is a broader term. What will be a part of this recruitment cost?
Trainings.
Training will be a part of recruitment.
Advertisements.
Yes, it starts with advertisement, then your administrative work on recruitment, profile screening and all those things. Then
conducting interviews.
Conducting interviews. Sometimes you will not conduct at a particular place if your organization is remotely located, where you will hire a place and you will conduct it there. And for replacing pivotal roles, what is this pivotal roles? High-end people, CEOs, COOs and all those things. In those cases, will you ask the people to come down to your place or a team will go to their place?
Perhaps the team goes.
You will go, a team will go. Or if you're going for campus recruitment, you will as a team visit the campuses. So in that case, transportation cost of you and your staying and other costs are involved. So these are all the various costs. Then you will have to onboard them. There is a lot of administrative work. If they don't have a EPF account, you will have to pay, open up an account, and you will have to create a separate data file for them, a database for them. So all these are administrative burdens created. These are all the components of replacement cost. Then as you told, after they have come, they will not be immediately performing better unless otherwise they have prior experience. Or even though they have prior experience, they will have to be given certain training, if not technical, some training on how to adapt to the culture of your organization. And they should get to know how to move with people of your own organization and how to move with each and every person to whom they are reporting to. So those sort of training they will have to give in. And
Induction training.
Yeah, correct. It is orientation and what you call that?
Induction.
Okay, fine. There is a difference between orientation and you have said something called induction. Okay, so what is the difference, sir?
Orientation means making them familiar with the organizational structure.
Okay.
Organization rules, regulations, policies, the basic thing. Whereas induction is more specific to their own job role, their
Exactly.
specialization, and then their team members, their project work, everything.
Exactly, sir. So, like, which will take longer time?
Induction only takes longer time.
Induction only takes longer time. So induction is like it happens till they are contributing. They have started contributing to the organization. Till that, the induction has to be done. But orientation, just you board them in and you familiarize them with the organization structure, policies, rules, regulations. Give them ID card, do the databases thing, and all those things. Your orientation is done. Okay,
One
or with
time-
the team dinner and outing, your orientation is done. But induction, you will have to train them, you will have to teach them, you will have to make them learn, and you will have to feed them in the sense like you have to feed them with the familiarity of the work till the day they have started contributing on their own without any supervision. So that is induction. Okay, so if the newly recruit lack this induction training, then your productivity will be lost till the day they have started to contribute. Correct, sir?
Exactly correct, sir.
Right. So that last productivity also you will have to take into consideration. So finally, this is the simple metric for calculating turnover rates. This is not the agenda for discussion because it's a very simple metric. We have to come out with something called this thing, a fully loaded cost of turnover. What is a fully loaded cost of turnover? It is not only for this turnover alone. It can be applied for absenteeism and other things. Whenever there is an estimation of cost, we will have to come out with the fully loaded cost. So what is that fully loaded cost, sir? What is that fully loaded cost?
When both indirect and direct costs are considered, sir?
Indirect and direct costs are considered, or can you rephrase it in other terms? None of the costs is left out. See, when we discussed about what will be the cost you will be taking into consideration when we estimate the cost of absenteeism, it doesn't strike like we are paying and compensation benefits which are non-monetary and all those things. So that has to be monetized, and that is also a cost. We didn't realize like there are some supervisors who have been toiling a lot because of some absent workers, but that cost also to be taken into consideration. So that is what we call it as fully loaded cost. You should not leave any of the costs which has to be estimated actually. That is a fully loaded cost. So in the case of our, this thing, calculating the cost of separations and the turnovers. So these are the various costs we will have to take into consideration. So what is separation cost? It will include all these things. You will conduct exit interviews, sir?
Yes.
Exit interview is a mandatory profile of your work, or you will be conducting only occasionally when the employees leave?
Generally, well, when a senior person leaves or somebody, a very contributing person leaves, then it looks mandatory.
So you spend some time on that. So that exit interview thing, okay, and all the administrative functions related to termination. You have to close his salary account. Sometimes you will have to get his EPF account closed. Somebody wants to close their EPF account when they want to leave. So all this thing we will have to do, and you will have to remove certain alterations. You will have to make it in the database that this employee has left this organization on this. So this thing and benefit files, separation pay, if any. I have told you, like you have told, ESI, PF, gratuity you will be paying, and there is something called unemployment tax, which is not applicable in India. Because you are sending somebody off, you will have to pay, he will be unemployed. So till the time he finds certain employment, in certain countries it is a norm. Till the time he is finding other employment, you will have to pay him. So that is what we call it as an unemployment cost. So separation cost you will have to. Cost of replacement, what are all the various costs? You have told almost everything. Communication of job availability, administrative function, entrance interviews, testing, staff meetings, moving expenses, we told. In certain cases, you have to go to where the employees are. Okay? And post-employment acquisition and dissemination of information, orientation, and the medical exams. So these are the various formulas to calculate that. Okay, training cost. There are two. I can I get rid of that honking sound so that I'll be able to close quicker. Okay, fine. There are two things you will have to take it. Look at the last formula to calculate this training cost. See, because a particular person, if he is a trainee, is it that he is not eligible to receive any salary? Is it so?
He is eligible.
He is eligible. So what he is expected to do? He is to do work, but he is attending training for which you are paying. You are incurring double cost. What is the double cost? You are spending
Training as well as salary.
as well as salary. So you will have to, and this training will be given sometimes by you are employing some internal people to train a group of people.
Their salary also.
Their salary and their time spent on training these people. Fine, sir. So this is how you need to calculate cost. So this is what I consider as full cost, fully loaded cost. You will have to not leave any cost which has to be estimated. Then only you will arrive at the right analytics and right decisions actually. Then the performance differences. Okay, you have told there are some workers who will take certain time to catch up to the level of the person who has already left. If it is a dysfunctional separation, so those differences you will have to estimate and you will have to calculate this cost of separation. Sir. Right? I think we will close it for today. Okay, sir. Fine, sir. And just a minute, I'll give you the agenda for tomorrow. For tomorrow, we will take up one aspect which is like staffing and recruitment. You have told, okay. So what are the nitty-gritties to take care while estimating the cost of the staffing and other thing. That is one. Then I will be teaching you a tool for collecting data from your employees. Most of the time, you already have data within your organization. If you are using an ERP or an SAP package, from anything you can download data. That is one part. But in most of the cases, when you conduct training for performance appraisals, now you follow 360 and 720 degree, where you will have to collect data from your people. So I'll teach you a tool, which is a software platform which is available online, which is through which you can easily conduct surveys and get the results analyzed actually. That is one thing we will think. I'll also teach you a dashboard software where which you can usually create certain sheets, feed in data, and you can create timelines, graphs, and dashboards. That is one thing. Then finally, we will discuss pivot tables. So is it that these pivot tables are widely known among you, or we will have to start from the basics of pivot tables? I wanted to have your feedback so that I can know where to start it from. If you are already knowing the basics of pivot table, I will start straight away with constructing dashboards with Excel worksheets, and we can go for Power queries actually.
So students may not be knowing this pivot tables and all that.
Will start with pivot tables, and I will finally teach you how to create advanced correlations between the various elements and how to create a live dashboard with Excel. And added to that, I will give you certain websites where there are HR data available and where there are also codings freely available for you to analyze the data. Fine, sir?
All right, sir.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. So anything, queries or something? I have something in the chat box. Sir, if there are any queries, I'm available to answer, or otherwise, if you think I'm wasting your valuable time, then we can wind up.
Send sir PPT on our group.
Fine. That will be shared. The one thing is that first presentation I have used cannot be downloaded as a PPT, but I can share it as a video clip, okay, or a PDF. Fine, sir. The other things I will share. Okay. Anything else, sir?
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, sir. Shall I take a leave, sir?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was really a wonderful session and a lot of learnings on different aspects of HR and analytics, metrics, and KPI. And we're looking forward for tomorrow's session.
Fine, sir.
Thank you so
So
much.
tomorrow it will all be demos and it will not be much of theory today because today is a base setting session. So I didn't want to start up with all those basics of what is HR life cycle and all those things. And still there is a diverse group. We have taken so much time on that. But tomorrow we will start up with the advanced thing where you can do actual analytics and all those things. Fine, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you all for your interactive participations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.